It's on Bulova time.
Let's move into I think, because we're talking about generations, and you mentored our Tune of Time music collective that we had worked on several years ago, and you've mentored so many young artists over the years, and currently, I'm sure. Where do you see music going today amongst young people? Where are you feeling like? Where's that going?
I think it's going to be maybe the most expressive, intelligent times ever in music in the next few years. And I'll tell you the main reason why is because women now are no longer afraid of the gear. When I started out, someone told me, now women are the main consumers of pop records, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% to 40. And I was like going, really? Wow, well, why don't I get a couple of women to be my songwriting partners? So they'll have their ear to the ground. Like I want that, that's probably why Like a Virgin is my biggest album, is because I had a woman who had her ear to the ground. I had my ear to the ground. I was listening to her and we were in sync, and she was on the cutting edge of the next thing. And that's what I always wanted. Now I'm writing, as a matter of fact, today I'll be working with two women who are like right there. I mean, they have hundreds of hits between them, which is incredible. And it's because they're no longer afraid of the gear. They get a computer and bingo, they do their own records, they do their own tracks, they do their own vocals. And it's just amazing to me that that type of power changes the landscape completely. And for me, it's a dream, because what I used to worry about, I no longer worry about. Like when I'm writing a song with a woman and she says, oh, you know what, Nile, I'll fix that vocal tonight. I go, great, I'll go write another song. I mean, it's like, before they used to walk into a studio and look at the console and go, what is that? They were intimidated by the technology. But these computers that we now have made them so familiar. I mean, I'm sure you must have seen, teenage girls and stuff like that. I mean, texting at the speed of like Supergirl.
Yep.
They're not looking. There's one of the women who works for me. She's 30 years old and she can text without looking, as if she were on a typewriter. Her fingers are like on this little thing, and she's like looking away, and she can turn around to you, and it's exactly what she was saying, what she said she was going to write. You can actually test her. You can say, can you write 15 so-and-so, and she'll go and show it right to you. So the fact that they're so comfortable with technology means that they'll be able to express themselves in a way that that they've never had the opportunity before, unless they could play a guitar or the piano or just had some great voice. Now they can have access to every aspect of the recording process. And I find that the women and I sort of say, I call them girls affectionately, because I just did a record with this girl, Taylor Park. I mean, is she even 22? Is she 20? I just did oh God, man, what's her name? Remy. Remy is 23, and but even though she's 23, man, maybe it's because I'm 68, but 23, she looks like a high school student to me. Like, to me, when I was younger, 23, that was a woman. That was,
Right.
I was a grown-up.
That's called us getting old now.
Yeah, I hear you, bro.
We're getting old.
I completely hear you.
Yeah. Where do we have a world of analog and digital, and in terms of music, I really feel that push-pull. I feel it in the watch business as well. You have your smart watches, today, and with Bulova, I always like to say we don't make smart watches, we only make dumb watches. But there's certainly a big amount of players out in the world making smart and connected and digital, right? They're a digital world. Watches like this, are analog, right? So they tick. Music, I feel, has a very close correlation. And my twin boys, which are the youngest of my four, they've been listening to records. I mean, they listen to all music in different formats, but they have a record player and vinyl. And where do you see the world there in terms of music?
But that's really interesting because, for the first time since I think the 80s, vinyl outsold CDs.
Yes.
Now, CD is not the main medium now, it's streaming. Why do people want to have a room full of stuff when you can just have access to that stuff? They see it as intelligent and the way of the world. Like, I don't want a pile of things in my room when I could just go hit my phone or hit, and hit my computer and hear the songs that I want. I can do whatever I want with them, just like, and DJs, like they use software in their computers and it's just like having turntables. And that's what the digital world has given us. But there's a really interesting movement now towards analog that people like, give you an example. I'm having a big auction at Christie's at the end of the year because I have so much stuff. I thought I was going to be a collector and show it off in a museum, and I'm just a hoarder now. Yeah, it's true. I have like all these amazing cars and amazing, and it's like, So I was looking through all my stuff. The people from Christie's came to my house, and I just said, I just realized I have something that no one has. And she says, what? I have test pressings. Madonna doesn't have test pressings because she's not the one who does the quality control, right? The producer does the quality control. The record companies, they don't care about it. You do the test, you make the test pressing and they go, did the producer okay it? Yeah. Maybe they listen to it. Usually they don't.
So now, sorry, just for people that don't know, a test press is...
So a test pressing is, so before the record can be manufactured,
okay,
you make one or two, and you listen to those for quality control. And if they're good, then you say, that's it, let's go. And then the machinery starts working and Taylor Swift pops out, whatever. Because, some people really believe in vinyl and they put them out. So when I did the biggest album of my life, which was Like a Virgin, vinyl was still the number one medium. It was switching to CDs, but still vinyl was out in front. CDs didn't take over until, I guess a few years later when, Britney Spears came along and you saw that first big deal where, God, I forget the name of the label. When he drew up his deal, it said that if I ever get the sales of this, you'd have to buy me out at this multiple. And they thought it was a joke. and CDs, with the help of downloading so the kids could listen to Britney Spears and New Kids on the Block and blah, blah, blah. They went, okay. And it was a boom, a record boom. And ever since that boom, it started going down. Now we're seeing a boom that's unprecedented. And I was talking to, British Parliament a few months ago and, talking to them about making things fair with the system, because now the people, the companies that own the masters are making some enormous amount of money. And we are still locked into the deal that we locked in when it was an analog record. And they figured out a formula without us being in the room as to what we would get paid. And I said, it's really unfair because you're paying us like it's a sale because it's makes a lot more money for the record company. I said, but in fact, it's a license. No kid You know, the record I just finished by Keith Urban, they don't have that song in their house. It's in the cloud somewhere. They just call it down when they want to hear it.
Right.
So it's not taking up room. It's not a sale. It's a license. They are borrowing it. They're using it at the time that that service has it available to them when they pay their, you know, $10 a month or whatever they do. Um, so I said, so the contracts are just not fair. They don't reflect uh, what the business paradigm is. So, so I think in a strange way, certainly the best days in the music business are ahead of us. It's going to turn into something that's going to be incredible because, you know, I have a new company called Hypnosis. We're the fastest growing company in the history of the London Stock Exchange. We're already valued at $2 billion
Oh,
now,
wow.
and in no time at all. And we've created a whole new asset class. And it's just tremendous. Now, the great thing about our business is that with streaming, these licenses come up every 3 years. And so now when, you know, some of the licenses for, and we own some of the biggest songs in the world. So now when those deals come up, we then get to renegotiate with terms that are more favorable to the songwriters and the artists. And I think that that's going to be such a gigantic boom in the future. It's it's unstoppable. That's why now private money is going after, you know, copyrights. You just look at the
So
section.
now, just a question on that. As you renegotiate, or as artists start to renegotiate, will that affect the streaming? Will that affect that? Will have a ripple effect with the price of streaming, I would imagine, right? Or no?
They're already making so much money. It's absurd. I think, I think that, you know, people always say that they never want to go backwards, which I understand, but they're so far out in front. It's absurd.
Right.
It's just absurd that sharing the pie will not hurt them at all. I mean, it's just like, all right, I made $59 billion instead of 60 billion. Oh,
Right. Right. Right.
you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like
you all are the content creators anyway. I mean, it seems like the music business has always had that inequality between the people that were selling versus the people that were creating. You
it's
know,
it's it's funny. I remember when I got my first royalty check, and I realized, hey, I've already paid. Wait, I got the biggest record in history. I've already paid back my advance. I've already. How come you still own the house? I said, I've paid off the mortgage, and you still own the house. This makes no sense.
right. Right. I'm still paying rent.
Right? Like I don't get it. Um, but that's how it's been structured. And what makes it work is that the artists are so happy to be in it because it's our calling. We have no choice. We can't help it. Um, I remember reading Bob Dylan's autobiography, and he says, you know, when I was paid to become a staff writer, um, I don't remember whether the check was $2,000 or $200,000. He said, I have no idea what it was. I could care less. I was just so happy to be a staff writer and to be a part of the business, and I could support my family. I was the happiest guy in the world. I was like, I get it. I get it. I mean, people still ask me to do things that are highly unfair, and sometimes I'll do it just because artistically I want to do it.
Mhm.
Uh, just we're driven more by the art than the money. Now, the newer people are a little bit more savvy. Um, they also sort of spend at a crazier rate, and that's sort of part of their thing. But if you get it, you deserve it, and you want to do it like that. Like when Jackie Gleason went, I had it and it went. Yeah, that's their prerogative. They can do what they want, but the greatest days are really ahead of us. And it's really about digital. It's about having access to music files that you can start with that's already happening. That's a groove. I mean, that's what built hip hop. You know, they started, and when I first heard the definition of hip hop, somebody explained it to me very simply. I said, "What is this hip hop thing?" They said, "Well, basically, what you do is you take something hip and you hop on it. You take something that's already working, and then you just add something to it." So
I never heard, I never heard that. I never heard that. You take something hip and you hop on it. I never knew that was hip hop.
The very early days, that's what someone said to me. And I said, "Oh, right." Because I already liked this song, just like I wrote Good Times. So everybody already liked Good Times. So when the Sugar Hill Gang wrote a hip hop, a hippie over, boom, 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 boom. It was like you already were in there. And I went to my first hip hop, and the only record they were playing was Good Times. And they had a line of MCs walking up to the microphone, and they all had a rhyme for Good Times. And I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like that. You know, now I make as much money on straight catalog sales as I do with people reusing, like taking. So in other words, like a movie will come out and say, you know, I want to put this song in the movie. Yep. You got 60 seconds or 70 seconds or 50 seconds. We're paying this. I get just as much money from people taking a little bit of my music and repurposing it as the basis of their song. And then they write a new song on it, and we have a brand new copyright.
That's bigger than sampling, right? Sampling is different.
Well, that is sampling.
Oh, that is sampling. Okay.
That is sampling. So a sample basically means they take a piece of something that exists, right? So as you know, there was a time, and it still is, it says, you can't reuse this, that when the NFL shows the football game and it says, it's strictly prohibited, blah, blah, blah. But you can call them up and say, well, look, NFL, I want to buy 10 seconds of that thing and put it in my movie. Well, it's not strictly prohibited then when they sell it to you. Right. So they have to license it to you. So so sampling is the usage, the using of it, and it only becomes legal when they finally make a deal with you and you license that sample.
Got it.
So sampling, you can do it and you can try and get away with it. But now we have these detection algorithms that can flag it. Like I just did the new Keith Urban record, even though I'm a co-participant and blah, blah, blah. I tried to promote it. Universal flagged me. I got one view.
Well, it's funny, just to stay on this topic. Last year, we launched our relationship with Frank Sinatra. So I don't know if you're aware, but Bulova used to sponsor the Frank Sinatra Hour on television during the 50s. So we had this really cool relationship, with the chairman of the board for several years. And we had always wanted to go back to this relationship, over the last few years. And we were able to get a hold of Frank Sinatra Enterprises. They're out in Los Angeles. I don't know if you know Charlie. Charlie's the president of the firm, and basically he works with Nancy and Tina Sinatra, on all things Frank. And so we were able to get into this relationship. This was a few years back, and we launched the new collection this last October, and it's been just nothing short of phenomenal, because you really understand the connection that people have, with Sinatra, the music and the cross-generational, it's just amazing, like I'm sure people are listening to Like a Virgin. I'm sure we have kids listening, people my age and grandparents all listening to Like a Virgin. And that was, 40 years ago? I can't even think right now what it was, but we're back with Frank, in a way, with Sinatra and Bulova together as two brands, and we're very excited about that. But in addition to that, there's all these little lanes that go off of a person like Sinatra, and for the length of time that he was a public figure. And so Tony Bennett enters the scene, and Tony and Frank were I guess friends and very close. And I know he's still, close with Tina and with Nancy. And so he had started the school in Astoria, Queens, which is the Frank Sinatra School of Performing Arts, which is for young kids, young students, high school. And it's a performing arts school. So we thought it'd be something cool and try to do a little mentorship program. And we're starting, it's actually going as we speak, and they're remixing Sinatra, Fly Me to the Moon. So these kids are going to take Fly Me to the Moon and do it their own way. And then at the end, we're going to get a performance, I think in June, on the rooftop. What do you think about these initiatives? I mean, what do you think about taking a guy like Sinatra and then, introducing him to a 16-year-old or 15-year-old and letting them have their way with Fly Me to the Moon?
I think it's brilliant. I think it's great, great, great. I'm not sure you know this, but Tina Sinatra named my first band. I used to work for Frank.
No,
I didn't work. Yeah, I didn't work directly for him, but I worked for anybody who kept their plane at the Van Nuys Airport, which was, I mean, when I was a kid in LA, I was around 14. My grandmother's boyfriend was a maintenance guy. He used to clean up the airport. And I was the only Black kid that they would see at the airport. And everybody took a liking to me. In my autobiography, I talk about Mr. Sinatra a lot. And I remember Quincy Jones was producing one of his albums, and I owned one of the only 2 Sony digital tape recorders in all of America. One was owned by a gentleman named Frank Zappa, and the other one was owned by me. And so Frank Sinatra was in Los Angeles, Zappa was in Los Angeles, but Zappa was making a record. So Quincy found out that from Sony, they said, well, Nile Rodgers has one in New York at the power station. So he talked Mr. Sinatra into coming to New York and doing the record. Now, here's what's really funny. No one knew me as Nile when I was younger because you want to fit in. Nile was a weird name. So I went by my middle name, Gregory, but they didn't even know that. I went by my nickname, which was called Pud. And everybody knew me as Pud. Everybody from Frank Sinatra to Nina Simone to Sammy Davis Jr., Ray Charles, everybody knew me as Pud. It was a name that really stuck out and they remembered. And
wait, and how do all these folks know you, Niall? From the Van Nuys Airport at that point?
No. Well, that list of names I gave you, that's my parents were beatniks, and we lived in the West Village and blah blah blah. So my parents knew Thelonious Monk and Nina.
Oh, okay. So
Gloria people, that were their friends. That was their group of friends. I knew Mr. Sinatra from the airport, and so I saw all the Rat Pack guys. I saw Elvis, because that's where you land when you come into LA. Mm-hmm. So I knew all those guys, and in my book I talk about how Mr. Sinatra gave me tips. And when I say tips, they weren't just money tips, because he was a huge tipper. He'd give you like $100 bill because his plane was named after Christina. It was called the Christina II. It's a Learjet, and it was called the Christina II. Christina married a man named Wes Farrell. Wes Farrell owned a label called Chelsea Records. Yeah. My band was called New York City. We got signed to Chelsea Records, and we did a song called I'm doing fine now, without you, baby. And that's it. And Tina she looked at New York Magazine. We took exactly that font. That was our logo and our thing. And it was New York City became a thing. And that all came from Tina. But anyway, so when I made the connection with her about working on the jet, oh, you're Pud. So anyway, so Quincy and Frank now come to New York just because of my tape recorder. And so he had a guy by the name of Frank Military working for him. Now, I knew I knew both Franks from back at the airport. So I said to Frank Military, I said, are you Frank Military? And he looked at me and said, yeah. And I said, wow, I'm Pud. He said, whoa, Pud. I said, so what are you doing here? So since my my grandmother's boyfriend was a janitor. Somehow, I guess he thought I moved to New York, and because I was a janitor too. I was helping him. Somehow they thought that I had moved to New York, and now I'm cleaning up this recording. And I'm like, oh, no, I own this fucker. I didn't really own the studio, but I basically did. I rented 2 rooms, 2 of the 3 rooms all the time. I was I made the biggest records there. Everything from Diana Ross to We Are Family to, The Freak, and every Chic record, Bowie, everything. So I said, do you think I can go in and say hello to Mr. Sinatra while he's sitting at the board with Quincy? I didn't even say Quincy, I said Mr. Jones, because I didn't know Quincy then. So I came in and I said, hi, Mr. Sinatra. Oh, it's so good to see you. Now, actually what happened was I didn't say that right away. I asked him to introduce me to Quincy Jones. So he introduced me to Quincy Jones, and I said, nice to meet you. Now at this point, Quincy knew who I was because he was borrowing my tape recorder and he knew my hit records. So he was like, wow, man, I've always wanted to meet you. I said, man, I really always wanted to meet you. Nice to meet you. And then I said to Mr. Sinatra, I said, Mr. Sinatra, it's great to see you again. He went, how could you say see me again when you just said nice to meet him? I said, because I'm Pud. He went, Pud? I said, yeah, Pud from Van Nuys Airport. Pud, what the hell are you doing here? I said, I'm the #1 producer in the world, because at that year, Billboard magazine rates #1 producers. So the year before, Quincy had Thriller, but this year I had Like a Virgin.
Wow. And the two guys in that room had a lot of records under their belt between those 2 records.
So Mr. Sinatra looked at Q and went, I thought you were the #1 producer in the world. I said, no, that was last year. Yeah. Thriller was last year. Like a Virgin's this year.
Fantastic. So, just unbelievable. The worlds of Sinatra now you have this great story with Nile and Sinatra. It's so much fun, to hear these stories, such a small world. So we could talk for hours. I know you have to go, but sorry. I do have to ask you one last question, because it's probably the best story that you will tell. And that is how Freak Out was named. You told me this story when we were in Switzerland together a few years ago. And I still, to me, it's the best story I've heard.
So we were, journeymen. We were really new to the business. And if you think about this is actually pretty amazing. The whole run of Chic was just 2 years. And in 2 years' time, we had first record was platinum, which meant we sold 2 million singles. Second record was gold, which was Everybody Dance. Third record was the biggest record in the entire Atlantic history canon. And that's everything from Bruno Mars to Ray Charles to Led Zeppelin to Eric Clapton. Everything was The Freak. And the way The Freak was made, the way it came about was we had a song called Everybody Dance. That was our second single off our first Chic album. It's the very first pop song I ever wrote. And that was the song of the underground discos. When you put on Everybody Dance, people went bananas, even though Dance, 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 Yowza, Yowza, Yowza was our big radio hit. But Everybody Dance was the killer. So Grace Jones was a fan of Everybody Dance. And like, wow, who are these guys who can play like that? That's incredible. They have great timing. Because we didn't make records with click tracks in those days. Everything was free. So Grace Jones said, she was considering having us be the producers and writers of what would have then been her next album. And at that point, she was riding a nice little wave of records, hit records that were done by Sly and Robbie down in Jamaica. So this was like the first star that called us. We were like, because we were regular guys. We were just studio musicians. Stars didn't call us. That was like wow, Grace Jones, oh my God. So this was our first time speaking with her, and it was a very short conversation. And she told us that the only way we could really understand her as an artist is to see her perform live, which is also really, that's bold, man. That's a great thing for a person to say. Um, so Grace has an accent that's like, to us, sounded like a cross between Marlena Dietrich, Bella Lugosi, and Bob Marley. And we couldn't quite understand why she was talking like that. And then we thought, oh, that's got to be the rock and roll code. We knew the thing about taking the whatever, the green or the brown M&Ms out of the bag or something. We thought,
Right,
oh,
right. The
that's
writers.
what we have to do so that the backdoor guys knows that we're legit. So she says, so what you do is you go to the back door and you tell them you're personal friends of Miss Grace Jones. And we said, okay, cool, got it. So we put on the best clothes we had, like incredible outfits. And we went to the back door, knocked on it, and you had to kick really loud because you couldn't hear the door being knocked on above the level of the music inside of Studio 54. So finally the guy opened the back door and he says, yeah, what do you want? And we says, hello, we're personal friends of Miss Grace Jones. And the guy looked at us, and while he was slamming the door in our face, he went, "Ah, F off." And we went, no, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute. And we thought we didn't quite get it right. We kicked the door again, like bang, 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 bang. We are personal friends of Miss Grace Jones. We went more Bella Lugosi. But we couldn't tell. I mean, this is Grace Jones. We're on a regular, the old fashioned bell handset things, Princess phone or something. Sounded like Bella Lugosi to us or something weird. And we tried it again. And the guy slammed the door in our face and said, didn't I say F off? And we pretty much realized we weren't going to get into Studio 54 that night. Now, this was 1977 going into 78, like New Year's Eve. And Studio 54 was the center of the disco universe, the absolute hardest club to get into. You can get into the Playboy Mansion easier than Studio 54 on New Year's Eve. So we walked to my apartment, which fortunately was just 1 block away from the back door of Studio 54. So the back door of Studio 54 is on 53rd Street between Broadway and 8th Avenue. My apartment was on 52nd Street between 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue. So on our way to my apartment, we stopped off at a liquor store and bought 2 bottles of Dom Perignon champagne, which we used to call rock and roll mouthwash. So we down those bottles, and then, when you drink it really fast, you get, whoa, super lightheaded. And I was the skinniest dude in the world anyway. So we get there and we start writing, F off, F Studio 54, F off. And we thought of every possible scenario where the appropriate answer would be, and if a cab driver cuts you off, F off, down. And we kept jamming and we were laughing and having a great time. And then we wrote a bridge. F up, bum, 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 the bum, 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 and we were into it. And finally my partner goes, my man, now this shit is happening. And I went, this was 2 years before hip hop. Bernard, we can't get F off on the radio. And we were not saying F, we were saying the full word, and he just says, well, we got to somehow make it work. So we kept retooling it, and we came up with freak off, which was a good euphemism for the other F word. Definitely was not lifting my skirt, was not making me feel good and sexy, nothing. As a composer, it was just bleh. Freak off. It was like, oh no. But we tried. We kept trying to drill it and make it work, play it, figuring that, repetition is going to make us love it. Then nothing. And then finally, boom, a light bulb went off over my head, you know, because I used to be a big, big, big hippie. And I went, oh wow, man, like what if we call it like freak out, man? Like when you take a bad acid trip, man, like and you're freaking out. And Bernard, who was a total soul brother from down south, looked at me and said, what are you talking about? Right away I got my black card, and no, man, when you see a really beautiful girl and you're like freaking out on the dance floor, anyway, here comes another light bulb. Oh my God. And my kids are doing this new dance called the freak. I said, so is my girlfriend, Nefertiti, the freak. So now we said, let's write a song about this dance called the freak. We didn't know how to do it. So we went to the record store and we bought 2 big records that were about dances. We bought Chubby Checker, The Twist, and then we bought Joey D and the Starlighters, Peppermint Twist. Mm-hmm. And we listened to both songs very carefully. And we noticed they had one thing in particular. They were the songs that represented the dance, but didn't show you how to do the dance at all.
Perfect.
Right? So, come on, baby, let's do the twist. Come on, baby, let's do the twist. Take me by my little hand, do-do-do, pop, and go like this. Twist, nothing. So take me by my little hand and go like this. So we go, allow us, we'll show you the way. Freak out. We don't. So we say, have you heard about the new dance craze? Listen to us. I'm sure you'll be amazed. Big fun to be had by everyone. It's up to you. Surely can be done. Young and old are doing it, I'm told. Just one try and you too will be sold. It's called Le Freak. Bernard thought of Le Freak to make us French. Yeah. It's called Le Freak. They're doing it night and day. Allow us. We'll show you the way. Freak out. The freak, say chic. And it was totally stupid. It made 0 sense unless you knew about this dance in New York. And to put the French word le for the in front of it really made no sense, except our band was called Chic. So we were just playing roles right up to the end. But the great thing about this, which you will appreciate, especially being a brand that wants to always stay ahead of the curve and be experimental. So by not getting what we wished for, we got more than we could have ever hoped for. Wound up getting the biggest record of all time in Atlantic history. We never would have imagined anything like that. We just wanted to get in and meet Grace Jones. Meanwhile, we didn't get in. We didn't meet Grace Jones. We didn't do that record. I wound up doing one by myself many, many years later. But that's after having hit after hit after hit after hit. But we had still, at that point, at that point, summer of 78, New Year's Eve 78, by New Year's Eve 79, we were dead. Never had another hit record again.
Wow. That quick. I mean,
yeah, even though up until then we had
4, 5, 6. Yeah, count them behind you.
Every last one of them, gold, platinum. That's my Chic library there, with a couple of Madonnas thrown in or Duran, but the singles are all Chic, and every one of them were gold and platinum. Wow. So everybody dance. I Want Your Love. Le Freak, Good Times, and then we also had Norma Jean, who was our first lead singer. Her stuff was gold. Then we did Sister Sledge, which was the big monster for us, because then we had He's the Greatest Dancer, platinum single right out the box. We Are Family, monster. Lost in Music, monster. Thinking of You, monster. Everything, monsters. But that all happened before the summer of 79. Wow. Summer of 79, we put out Good Times. We had 2 #1 pop records in that same year. We were done.
Well, now I want to say thank you so much for your time. You're always so gracious with your storytelling and your thoughts. You're a friend to our brand, and anything that we can ever do for you, please, that we're here to support you. Certainly, please give my best to Nancy. And I wish you only the best of success the rest of this year. And hopefully things will open up and we'll be able to see you live again and in concert somewhere, please.
Pretty soon. We're all vaxxed up here and we're ready to go. We're scheduled to do our first concert real live with a real audience August 22nd. And we'll do a whole run in England. Then we take a little time off and then we do another run in September, like through my birthday. And then 2022, we seem to have just like, we're Cher's opening act. So we'll have all those Cher dates if she goes back out.
Okay.
She told me she never wants me out of her life.
Oh,
so we'll be gigging forever.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you live and in person soon, Nile. But again, thank you so much. Same here. Same here. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Nile. Love you. Thank you.